Good morning, dear students. Welcome to P.N.AMERSEY e-learning classes. Our next topic is measurement. Measurement is the action of measuring something. For example, height measurement. Measurement of time. We get up in the morning, get ready and go to school. At what time should we get up? How long we take to get ready? These questions are related to measurement of time. Measurement of temperature. This is the measurement of mass. When we fall ill, the doctor measures our body temperature. How much fruits, vegetables I want to purchase? 1 kg, 2 kg or 3 kg? When we buy fruits and vegetables, the shopkeepers measures the quantity. How wide is this desk? How did people know how far they have traveled? How will you know whether you can walk all the way to your school or whether you will need to take a bus or a rickshaw to reach your school? When you need to purchase something, it is possible for you to walk to the market. How will you know the answers to these questions? It is often important to know how far a place is, that we can have an idea how we are going to reach that place. Walk, take a bus or a train, a ship, aeroplane, or even a spacecraft. Sometimes there are objects whose length or width we need to know. In Paheli and Bujo's classroom, there are large desks which are to be shared by two students. Paheli and Bujo share one desk, but frequently end up objecting that other is using a large share of the desk. On the teacher's suggestion, they decided to measure the length of the desk, make a mark exactly in the middle of it, and draw a line to separate the two halves of the desk. Both Paheli and Bujo are very fond of playing gilli danda with their friends. Bujo brought a set of gilli and danda with him. Here is how they tried to measure the length of the desk using the danda and the gilli. You can see figure 10.2 measuring the length of the desk with gilli and danda. The desk seems to be having a length equal to two danda lengths and two lengths of the gilli. Drawing a line in the middle of the desk leaves each of them happy with a half of the desk equal to a danda and a gilli in its length. After a few days, the marked line gets wiped out. Bujo now has a new set of gilli and danda and he lost his old one. Here is how the length of this desk seems to measure using the gilli and danda. You can see figure 10.3 measuring the length of the desk with a different set of gilli and danda. Hello. Now, when measured with the new set of gilli and danda, the length seems to be about two danda lengths and one gilli length with a small length still left out. This is less than the one gilli length. Now what? What will happen? What would you suggest Paheli and Bujo to do to measure the length of the whole desk? Can they use a cricket wicket and balls to measure the length? Or do you think that this might create a similar problem in measuring the length of the desk? One thing they could do this to take a small length of string and mark 2 points on it. This can be a string length. They can measure the width of the desk in the string length. Figure 10.4, you can see measuring the length of the desk with string lengths. How can they use a string length now to measure the distance less than the length of a string? They can fold the string and mark it into 1.5 or 1/4 or 1/8 string lengths. Now perhaps Paheli and Bujo can measure the exact length of the desk using the string. You would say that they should use the scale in their geometry box and solve their problem. Yes, of course, they can measure it with that. Bujo has been reading about the way people used to measure distances before such standard scales were made and has been trying to follow different methods of measuring distances. There are so many occasions when we come across a need to measure lengths and distances. The tailor needs to measure the length of the cloth to know if it's enough to stitch a kurta. A carpenter needs to measure the height and width of a cupboard to know how much wood he would need to make its door. The farmer needs to net the length and the breadth or the area of his land to know how much seed he can sow and how much water would be needed for his crops. Suppose you are asked how tall you are. You want to tell the length of the straight line from the top of your head to the heel of your feet. How long is this room? How wide is this desk? How far it is from Delhi to Lucknow? How far is the moon from the earth? All these questions have one thing in common. They all are concerned with the distance between the two places. The two places may be close enough, like the two ends of a table, or they may be apart far, like Jammu and Kanyakumari. Let us do a few measurements to see what exactly we need to do when we measure distances or lengths. Let us understand some activities to know the measurements. Work in groups and each of you do this activity one by one using your foot or unit of length. Measure the length and breadth of the classroom. It is possible that while measuring this, you may find some part remains to be measured as it is smaller than your foot. Using a string to measure the length of a part of your foot as you did it before. Record your observation in table 10.1. Activity 2. Measuring use measurement using handspan. To measure the length of a table by using a handspan, what you need is table method. Measure the length of a given table with your handspan. Handspan is the distance between the tip of the thumb and the tip of the little finger of a fully stretched hand. Suppose it is 8 handspans. Now ask your younger brother or sister to measure the length of the table by his or her handspan. It is also 8 handspans. Now it's about 10 handspans. So this activity shows the conclusion that handspan is not a reliable unit for measuring the length of the table. Now, study all the measurements recorded in table 10.1 and table 10.2. Are all the measurements for the room using everybody's foot equal? Are everybody's measurement by handspan of the width of the table equal? Perhaps the result could be different as the length of your handspan and that of your friends may not be the same. Similarly, the length of the foot may be slightly different for all the students. Therefore, when you tell your measurement using your handspan or length of a foot as a unit to others, they will not be able to understand how big the actual length is unless they know the length of your handspan or foot. We see therefore that some standard units of measurements are needed that do not change from person to person. Thank you, dear students.